day I did a video on bad radiators and the fins falling out, which is one of the biggest causes of Land Rovers overheating. It's not actually the engine itself that overheats, it just can't get rid of the heat. That's why the radiators should always be in tip-top condition. But another thing that fails on Land Rovers at an alarming rate is these things. These are fans with the viscous coupling in them. And the idea of a viscous coupling is to reduce drag on the engine. Now in the old days we just used to have a fixed fan, but it's been scientifically proved that this takes up a few horsepower and bits and pieces, and it's just dragging around for nothing most of the time. And the most interesting point is that when a car's going over 30 miles an hour, the fan's irrelevant because the airflow going through the radiator is sufficient to cool it down. So bear that in mind. The fan's really used for when it's in town or just idling around, but it can't get that ram air effect through the radiator. So what they came up with was this idea, and this is what's called a viscous coupling here. And what it is it's a sort of a mechanical device. Now the thing is, I've never actually had a look inside one of these because every time you try to get into them you destroy them. Bit of a shame really, because it would be interesting to see. But how it's operated is this. You see at the very front there's a little coil, looks like a spring, but it's actually a bimetallic spring. So if you actually think back to your physics, this spring is made from two dissimilar metals, one on the front, one on the back, and it's like joined together. So what happens is when it's hot, it'll be vertical, but when it's heated, it will curve because the coefficient of expansion of the two different metals will make it move. And that's what this does. And what it does is it turns a valve. There's a valve inside here, this thing here. Little test of the viscous coupling. I hope you can see this properly. But I've just put a little mark on here with a Sharpie. I hope you can see it clearly. I think you should be able to. I've zoomed in a little bit too much, but I want you to see the bimetallic spring working. So I'm going to warm it up, and then I'm going to cool it down. Where have we gone? I'm going to cool it down with the airline. You should be able to see it working. Isn't that the coolest thing? Now, if you want to give yours a quick test and it's not doing that, it's a good test to see if it's locked up. Did you see how it moved? Now I'm going to cool it down rapidly. That is the operation of the bimetallic spring operating the valve. And it turns and it can lock up the fan. Now, when we say lock it up, it doesn't mean lock it up completely. It just means it'll make more resistance. A bad example of that is this one. And something you should really look out for, because this is the failing point of these fans. And I'll tell you now. If you can see here, the spring is all gummed up. It's all gummed up with debris that's come through the radiator, oil and dirt and stuff like this. And the spring, the bimetallic strip can't operate properly. Alright? So let me show you very quickly a fan, and this is a brand new one. This is a brand spanker, straight out of the box, and it's a genuine Land Rover one. Look, see there, it's a genuine Land Rover one. And the way the fan works, this is like teaching your granny how to suck eggs. But when your engine's driving this fan around, like this one has to go in this direction, it's chopping the air and pushing it this way. Alright, so this is the direction it flows. So it goes this way and air's going that way. Pay particular attention to 300 TDIs. This is just a quick edit because I actually picked up two V8 fans to show you the difference between a 300 and a V8 fan. So I've had to put this little piece in, so my editing isn't very good, so forgive me. This is a 300 TDI fan, and this is a V8 fan. They look almost identical, but you can see the blades go in a different way. They go a different way around. So that's very important. If you're at a scrapyard or a breakers and you want to pick a fan up, a really easy way to tell them. Not only do there's a left-hand thread in the 300 TDI and a right-hand thread in the V8, they're a different size. This one is a big one, and this one is a small one, and that one feels like it's a good fan. So back to the video. So this is a fan straight out the box, and you can see there is resistance, and that's how it should be. And what happens is, as hot air is coming through the radiator, it's heating up this bimetallic strip, and this all ties into what I was saying the other day about cooling the radiator. With the fins in, it's got to have good fins to dissipate the heat, so the heat can actually hit this viscous coupling, make it work, and make the fan work. If there's no fins in the fan, this is going to get difficult to say, if there's no fins in the fan, cold air is going to come straight through, cool this down, the fan's going to go down thinking, hey, we're still like idling, it's cold, you know what I mean? Even though the engine temperature is really, really hot, the radiator's not cooling down, it's not transferring heat to this bimetallic strip, and the fan will just think, hey, you know, it's not hot at all. In a perfect world, cold air coming in from the outside will hit that hot radiator and transfer the heat to this fan, and it will start to lock up. Now, it doesn't lock up completely. Bear that in mind, it doesn't lock up completely, but the resistance is greater. Alright? So I'm turning this now. You're going to say, why don't you show me it on a vehicle? Well, I can't, because I haven't got any gear. And the reason for that is that in the manufacturer's book, now I went to the manufacturer's, Land Rover don't make these, they don't make anything, but when I went to the manufacturer's book, they suggest what you do is you put some reflective tape on the edge of the fan and on the shaft. Get the engine, you know, see what it's like when it's cold, put a piece of cardboard in front of the engine and get it hot. Not a great big piece, because you still want airflow to come through. And with the stroboscope, measure the difference in the RPM of the fan and the RPM of the shaft. Now, I know you're going to say something, I know what you're saying, but Mike, we've got a diesel, we can't put a stroboscope on. Correct. So what do we do? Well, we're limited really what we can do and what we can't do. But if your fan's got resistance, it's a good chance it's going to be working. Like, I'm having a hard time turning that because I haven't got the leverage of turning it in the vise. So I want to show you something else. This is a quick test for you. This one is off a 300, is it off a 300 TDI? God, I get all confused now. But anyway, yeah, it's off a 300 TDI. This one is buggered, alright? Watch. If your fan does this, it's not working. It's not going to do anything. You might as well not have it on. When your car's running, due to the transfer of energy from your belt and the laws of motion on something to do with Britain going decimal, this will actually turn with the pulley, but it's not driving, and that's a big difference. It's got to drive, okay? So that's not doing anything at all, that's a waste of time. So if it does that, forget it. Now, customer brought me this the other day, thinking he was doing me a favour. This is off a Range Rover. Oh no, disco too. Well, I think it's a Range Rover one. First things to notice, let me come round here. Leaking, not good. It's leaking out of here. But something I noticed with this, see those pins there? Somebody's drilled it and locked it up with split pins. Perhaps it's a good idea. At least the fan will sort of turn, but it doesn't. The fan won't turn now, so that's just like a fixed fan. There is a little bit of a problem. This is why I've come a little bit closer. Chip blade. This will put it all out of balance. So it's very important that these fans are balanced. It is a bit of a science. It really is a bit of a science. Hey, while I'm at the front here, I'll show you this as well. Here's another thing to look for. This is the bimetallic strip, and it's supposed to heat up and expand and lock up the fan. Well, we say lock up, but it makes it a bit stiffer. Because this is all gummed up, you see, it might have a difficulty trying to work. Now I say might because it's so hard to say, because these actually open outwards. But I've tested this with a hot air gun and it does nothing. This is what it should look like, see? Now I've been playing around with these to see if they work, and what I did was I drew a marker pen on here and warmed it up with my hot air gun and wanted to see how the clutch worked and to see if it was alright. And this one seems to be alright too, so this is going in my good box. But remember, left hand drive, oh no, left hand drive, left hand turn, right hand turn, so just be careful you get the right one, because if they go the wrong way around you'll bugger them up. One other thing, whilst I'm at it, about viscous couplings and viscous fans. When you're storing them, you must store them level, flat. Don't store them standing up thinking you're going to save more space. Because what happens is, the liquidy type stuff inside, I don't know what it is, it's probably, I don't know, it's something made in Belgium. But what will happen is, the liquid will all fall to the bottom, and when you start your car, it'll be like having a great big balance weight on the outside, and it'll go all over the place, and it'll shake the water pump to death if it's on there. So it's really, you know, even if it has been stored like this, leave them for about 3 or 4 days like that, so the liquid will go even. Ooh, there you see, you didn't know that, did you? So, are they a good idea? Let's go around to the other side and I'll give you a lecture. So, are they a good idea? Well, yes, they do save a few horsepower. But in the Land Rover world, as I've found out, I'd sacrifice horsepower any day of the week for reliability. Now, should I put electric fans on? Now, I fitted electric fans to my Isuzu principally because I couldn't get the fan in. I didn't have enough room. And they've worked great. I think it's Renault Tech or something like that who made them. Worked very well, cooled very well. I always have a suspicion of electric fans because you think, well, are they going to work when I really, really need them? I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? In an ideal world, it would be easy just to have a shaft and a fan without this great big thing on here. And to hell with it, you know. Just rely on a good old-fashioned fan. So I don't know. I really don't know what to think. But just check. I say I don't know what to think is the best option, electric or viscous coupling. These couplings aren't particularly expensive to buy new, and if you've got any suspicion, just change it, because a new one's far better than a second-hand one, because you never know if you're going to get somebody else's problems. And as you saw the one that spins around freely, you know, you could get one that's great. Oh, all right, I've got a second-hand one that's brilliant, and you put it on the car and 2 weeks later it's back to normal again. It doesn't work. Reliability, I don't know. It's a tough call. It's a tough call, but this is one of the biggest problems I see here for overheating. You see, like as mentioned before, the engines are always going to produce the same amount of heat. Well, give or take. But when the thermostat opens at, say, for example, 88 degrees, that 88 degrees is going through your radiator and hopefully is getting cooled down to a sufficient temperature so cool water enters the bottom of the engine and keeps it cool. That's it basically in a nutshell. But if your radiator has got no fins in it, or if it's got tubes in, not leaking and got no fins in it, that 88 degree water will probably only drop to about 80 degrees. So then you're putting 80 degrees water back into your engine and it will get progressively hotter and hotter, and that causes overheating because it can't cool down. So I'm just covering in this section these fans, and it's just an addition to radiators, and I am just sort of, I have no script on this, I'm just making it up as I go along. But I think you get the idea, and I'm glad you actually contacted me with questions and things like this, and I'm trying to work out solutions for you all. So anyway, if you like this, get back to me in the comments and tell me what you think, because I think I'm on the right, I know I'm on the right track because I've had years of this, because in Quebec it gets damned hot in summer, freezing cold in winter. In fact, I tell you how cold it gets in, I take the fans off. On the TDIs, I just take them off. They're completely irrelevant. So I hope you like that, and we'll talk to you later. Ta-da!